AI like that should be very expensive to use. The payment should be as big as licensing one of the existing pieces of art made by the author. You will always be in danger of losing the rights to your work. Whatever you make using AI, every day will be a risk that something will come up, some kind of law, some kind of information about some image being not legal, which completely illegitimizes your work. But artists have one important value that at the moment AI has no business taking over, and that's legality. You actually own the rights to your image, and no one will ever be able to take away that right from you. Hi guys, my name is Borodante, and let's talk about AI again. So I'm making this video as a quick follow-up on the previous video I did on Photoshop AI in 2024. And here I wanted to expand a little bit on what I've been talking about in terms of legality and everything, as well as address some of your guys' issues in the comments. Because really, it's been a while since the last time I made an AI video, and I kind of had no idea that things became so sharp right now, that like it's easy for me to disagree on those and go like, whatever, we can talk about anything and stuff like that. But I just wanted to make this video to actually dial in a little bit my position on it. And the reason to that is, I don't know, lately I actually felt like, not necessarily the responsibility, I'm not that big of a YouTuber, but I feel like there should be a certain connection between me and you guys. I'm not just spitting out video into nothing and you can do whatever you want with it. I really want to talk to you guys as living people with your feelings and your position in lives and, you know, just actually have a relationship. And I feel like answering to this would be a really cool way to go about it right now. And I've answered like a huge amount of text in the comments, and I answered to many comments separately as well under this video, but I want to make a video where I talk about all of it together. Also, my thoughts kind of evolved while I was answering to the comments, and it seems like most people had the main issue with me actually showing the new features, even though in the video itself I talk a lot about the fact that you can't use this. You literally can't use this because AI seems to have this fundamental issue of being trained on way too many images. And my point is, you actually shouldn't be using it. Like, no one can actually use it. And it's not the reason to ignore the laws, but instead ignore AI. Like, we can't use it. At the stage at which it's developing right now, as I call it in my comment, it's the illegal stage of evolution of AI right now, because it's just a complete mess. They just hope it will just all somehow be ignored. The fact that these models are trained by images with no consent of the authors, or like one reason why I actually am interested about Adobe AI specifically is because Adobe is doing the nearest to the good attempt, which is quite a stretch there, but they're actually doing the closest to good attempt comparing to any other AI model right now, where they actually use the legal consent, though that consent was taken from the authors before everyone even knew about generative AI. So they're training their images on the Adobe stock, which is this stock images and stock videos platform where you can buy stock footage, and so many high-profile artists and photographers are selling their images through that. And now Adobe is just training their amazing AI model on those images, and they legally can do that because it's in the agreement of everyone who's selling on that platform. So that's not very good in the regards that it's sort of retroactively applied to the specific use case of training AI. But on the other hand, artists whose images are actually used to generate images, they are being compensated, which is great. But there is actually another issue I wanted to talk about, and I never mentioned that in the video. Whatever the compensation is, I remember it wasn't something huge or anything. It's so not enough. And I feel like that's one important point to keep in mind. If we keep going with models like AI models that are trained on like millions and millions of images, first of all the authors need to be compensated, but secondly, AI like that should be very expensive to use, because you are still supposed to be paying to those artists the same amount. Why not? Like, it makes no sense. Like, all these models only exist thanks to all the artists whose images were used for training, so the payment should be as big as licensing one of the existing pieces of art made by the author, with the exception of the fact that they will be split among several artists used for generating that one particular image. So what I'm trying to say is it should be a similar model to the way you would use like fonts in Photoshop or something like that, where you pick a font and you apply like that you're using the license to use this font right now, and the author of this font or copyright holder of this font will be compensated for it from your Adobe subscription or whatever it would be. But I mean, that's just a font, and licensing it for using in a certain image or whatever. Or a video, like I'm licensing through Adobe subscription this round font that I'm using everywhere. But for AI, right now, it's just like whatever the price Adobe decided that it's enough. Like, it's a weird thing. And really, considering this is the technology that is going to be eating away from the market of actual artists, it makes sense that it needs to replace the income as well, because without the actual artists, none of this technology would exist at all. There is a clear obligation to compensate there. But yeah, as far as I can tell, there are two ways for AI to evolve. Number one, the legal way, where AI would be just really expensive to use, to license. Like, you can generate many images inside of your project, but the ones you actually end up using and keeping and saving a final product with, all of those generated pieces, they will be specifically licensed to the specific groups of artists. It's like this whole thing is something that's unprecedented. It doesn't exist at the moment, but this is a huge thing that can't be skipped. Like, how is it ever gonna work? And the second way to evolve is the evolution of the technology, where we would be able to train AI on a very small amount of images and just work with that. That way you will either be able to easily control it, you would be able to maybe use like this special empty Firefly model and just feed certain images that you have a license to, or like your own images. Like, I can see it as a really cool way to like feed all of my artwork into my local Firefly model in the future, and that model would be just able to paint the way I painted my whole life, and it will be just creating a lot more artwork really quickly. Sort of like having an army of clones of myself as artists that work on the same project to make something huge. So that would be really cool. So I don't see any problem with the technology of AI itself, and I don't think anyone does, but the fact that it's immediately used to just grab all the images without asking anybody, that is absolutely insane. And yeah, I see the necessity of talking about it, which is another point I made. We need to be talking about it because only by having a conversation and having a discussion of how AI can evolve that we would agree with it is the way to make sure that AI evolves to be a good tool. But if we don't help and just antagonize it, we all know that someone will still be developing it, and it will be just this illegal thing that is used only for evil, and it will be only stealing all the training data from artists and photographers, and no one would get compensated, but this thing won't go away anyway. There's no turning back. That's the thing we need to all understand, that we need to talk to it. Otherwise, it will only turn out to be even worse. But yeah, my main point in the last video and in this video is that you can't use AI for work. No one can. Simply because it's just, even if you're clear right now, Adobe AI is considered something you can use for work. But that's only because the whole law system to work with this is in development, and I hope it won't be lobbied to death by all the corporations to just steal everything. That would be insane. But like, even Adobe's use AI, as I mentioned in the original video, there is a scandal that some images are made by Midjourney that got into the training data of a Firefly AI model, which means like, how can you use it for anything now? Midjourney is completely unfiltered, it's trained on everything, which is a completely unusable thing in legal terms at all. You will always be in danger of losing the rights to your work. Whatever you make using AI, every day will be a risk that something will come up, some kind of law, some kind of information about some image being not legal, which completely illegitimizes your work. As an artist or as a company that hired someone to use AI to do something, you can lose everything at any point. All the work that's built with that AI, even partially, anything released, will have huge issues in the future. No one can use it right now. And the main problem is just how many images is used. Even if Adobe would only use Adobe stock that they technically have the legal rights to, and probably no one will take that right away from them, which is a very sketchy morally thing to do, because again, it's applied retroactively. Even then, how can you guarantee that every single artist that submitted an image to Adobe stock didn't lie about like not using AI in their piece? What if at a certain, like, you rely on all of those artists you don't know, you haven't seen, there's like hundreds of thousands of them, millions of them, and like how many pieces they have in there that are involved in the generation of your image. Any of those pieces could be mistakenly or intentionally and secretly generated by AI partially or in full, or just stolen images, which would be this one legal issue of one artist with one picture, but through AI, it's contaminating with this illegality to all the images generated with Photoshop. Like, it's simply unusable. As I said in the last video, it's just for memes. You can't really use it for anything that would be an actual product that would actually take away someone's job. I think that's the main value of artists right now. It's not the skill necessarily or any like productivity or anything. Clearly AI, it's impossible to fight it in many of those ways. Of course, it's kind of dumb right now, it's meaningless in some ways and whatever. Like, the artist's work is the work between an artist and the society or whatever. Like, it's a message made by a human that lived in this world and has something to say. Is this whole thing. There's a lot of baggage to any image provided by an artist. And AI is just blending mindlessly between all of those images, which is like a mindless thing, but for many job opportunities, that's just about enough for many companies to just have that and not pay to actual artists. But artists have one important value that at the moment AI has no business taking over, and that's legality. You actually own the rights to your image, and no one will ever be able to take away that right from you. Unless you're using AI, but like if you're just painting on your own, no one will ever be able to legally establish that it's not yours, unless you give these rights away voluntarily. But AI tools can easily lose rights at any moment. It's not just a minefield, it's three-dimensional minefield. I don't know, it's really bad. There's no guarantee, even if there would be any. There will never be any guarantee. So yeah, I guess that's the main message I wanted to share with you guys. Again, there was a lot of argument and a lot of like disagreement on the fact that I can show an actual product of AI and like promote it with my video on my channel. And at first I said that like I don't get that at all. And as I said, we should talk about it and we should look at what state AI is at right now. But I think it's only logical for me to simply respect feelings of the artists whose jobs depend on it. Like, I don't have to show AI software, at least until the whole legal debate in the world comes to a certain conclusion. I don't have to do this and I won't. I did choose to make a video about Adobe AI because their model and like ethical approach is closest we have so far to the legal one, but it's still 100% illegal. So I guess that will be the last video I ever showed the actual AI tech in the video, until further notice, so to speak. I still find the subject of AI very important and very interesting. I do like the technology. It's a very sophisticated continuation of an artist's skill, if it's applied this way. And it will have to be applied this way due to all the reasons I mentioned before, because to use art, it has to be legal. You can't use art that is illegal. But yeah, whatever the video will come up later about AI on this channel, I will avoid actually showing it in a way that could be interpreted as promoting it or like exposing it to broader audience or something like that, like helping to sell AI models that are unethical. It is generally like this crazy idea that all of these models are clearly trained on who knows what, and they're actively being sold all the time right now. They're already sold so much. That's insane. Like, it kind of snowballing into a bigger and bigger financial issue to so many companies. So yeah, this is it. Let me know what you guys think. This is my new, stance on this subject. Pretty much the same it was before, but right now, like, the subject of ethical/legal problem, like, I recently realized that AI is just almost conceptually illegal just due to the fact of how many images are needed to train it. Until that changes, I think, I just really wanna spread the word that, hey, you can't use it, actually. You will run into a lot of problems in the future, almost guaranteed. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye! I just realized this intro I use in videos that are about AI, it's illegal too. I mean, these are images taken from DALL-E Mini, I think. Clearly, it wasn't legally established, so won't be using this in the future. And luckily, there's a way to cut out pieces of a video on YouTube these days. I might have to do that on some of the videos in the future.